A group of senators reaches a deal now that could add momentum for the push for immigration reform. Now, it is designed to overcome the objections of some Republicans who are concerned about border security. The deal, here's what it looks like, would strengthen security requirements in the immigration bill. It would double the size of the Border Patrol from the current level of 21,000 agents. Also calls for 700 miles of fence along the border. Now, here's what Florida Senator Marco Rubio said in our interview with Dana Bash just this last hour about the politics behind this.
I understand why people are frustrated. I do. We shouldn't do this for politics. I can tell you politically this is as much a negative as it is a positive. People are really upset, and I respect it and I understand it. By the other token, though, this is hurting America. This should be about helping the United States. And if nothing passes, then this disaster we have now, that's what's going to stay in place.
I want to bring in Democratic strategist Maria Cardona and Republican strategist Anna Navarro to talk about this. If I could take a page from what Dana said to the senator, oh, come on, really? It is politics. It's political, right? Come on. How can you separate the two? Anna, I'll start with you.
Well, listen, I think Marco Rubio, and I know him very well, this is an issue that was very important to him, that he really wanted to put political capital into, and he's been doing it. He's been making a huge difference in this debate this time around, because he has got bona fides with the conservative base that, frankly, nobody else in that group does, and he's been able to use that to get a more receptive hearing from some of the crowds that were very anti-immigration bill a few years ago. So I think Marco's doing it for the right reasons, and he's right, because I live in Florida, I live in his state. I can tell you he's getting a lot of flack from the left and from the right. He seems to be getting hit by both sides every day for one thing or another. So if he's doing it for getting credit, I'm not sure this is the best thing he could have done. If he's doing it to solve the issue, this is the best thing he needs to do.
So, Maria, let's talk about this, because obviously President Bush, I mean, this is something that he tried to do. He couldn't get his own party on board, and now what would make it any easier or any more likely that you'd have a Democratic president like President Obama who would be able to make this through Congress, through both chambers?
How about the November election when 70%, 71% of Latinos actually voted for President Obama? And, you know, it isn't purely political, Suzanne, but politics has absolutely a lot to do with this. It is the right policy. We do need to get this done. There's no question about that. This is not just good for Latinos. This is not just good for immigrants. This is good for America. The CBO report that came out this week, I think, is the biggest piece of news, that where it says that comprehensive immigration reform will boost our economic security, reducing the deficit by $1 trillion over the next 2 decades. $700 billion in additional wealth and housing will be injected by this bill. So there's no question that this is the right thing to do, but politically, Marco Rubio knows if he has any aspirations to reach the White House, and he will tell everybody that that's not what he's thinking right now, but if at any point in the future he wants to do this, he knows that this is something that his party has to do, not just for his aspirations, but if the Republican Party ever wants to get to the White House again.
Okay, Anna, but let me bring you in here, because obviously, you know, this is something where you've got a large majority of Americans think that the border security should be the top priority on immigration reform. The latest polls actually do bear that out. They show that. So, Speaker Boehner, the House, how do you get them on board?
I think that what's happening today, I think 2 things happened this week. One was a CBO report that Maria just mentioned, which is very good news for the House, because there are a lot of fiscal conservatives, and now there's 175 billion reasons to vote for immigration reform, according to what the Congressional Budget Office scored this bill as. But second, this amendment that's going to be announced later today, that's going to be introduced later today, the hope there is that it brings about a broad support for the bill, that it brings on 10, 12, 15 Republicans, so that then there is huge momentum going out into the House. If you get this bill passed, if the Senate is able to pass this bill with 68, 70, 72 votes, that's huge momentum going into the next chamber. And I think there's plenty of adults in the room in the House of Representatives who are going to find a way to thread the needle.
All right, there are adults here. Rare that we're all in agreement here, but Anna, Maria, good to see you as always. We'll see how this all kind of shakes out in the next hour or so.
Good to see
how
you,
many
Suzanne.
adults are in the room. Thank you.